Hello, extraordinary minds. Mainly Facts is thrilled to have you back. Ready to dive into today's magic? Let's unravel the wonders that await.
Story 1. Am I the a-hole for ruining the family gathering over a joke my sister made? For some context, I, 28 male, and my wife, Claire, 25 female, are expecting. Claire is currently 8 months pregnant, our son being expected to be born in November 2023. This isn't our first pregnancy, though. Claire got pregnant 2 years ago, but the day our daughter was born, she passed away. This crushed us both mentally, especially for my wife. Well, I have a sister, Hannah, 19 female, who, for better words, lacks sympathy. Our parents always try to defend her and try to say she has a dark sense of humor, but this time she took it too far. We were at a family gathering yesterday, and it all went well until the topic of the pregnancy came up. Everybody was asking how Claire was, and some of females, like my aunt's grandmother mom, were asking about the birthing plan when my sister says, while laughing, "Let's hope this baby isn't like the last." Talking about mine and Claire's daughter, I completely lost it. I started screaming at Hannah, telling her that was completely rude of her, and that if she ever says stuff like that again, she wouldn't be able to ever even see our son. Hannah started crying while Claire was already crying. My dad took me away from my sister, and I got yelled at for making Hannah cry over a joke, and I ruined the family gathering. Am I the a-hole? I will admit I may have been harsh with threatening to not let Hannah see my son, but this isn't the first time she made a joke like that. All right, you did not ruin the family gathering. Hannah ruined the family gathering. That's not a dark joke. That is cruel. That is just absolutely pure cruelty to bring something like that up around a pregnant woman. Like, I don't think there's any point in time in which that is an okay joke. To basically joke about someone's child who died when they're currently expecting another child and may have those fears. And the fact that anyone would defend Hannah's little joke is gross. Like, I'm sorry. Hannah ruined that time, and I hate people who get more upset about, like, someone, genuinely being offended by something awful than by the awful thing. It's just like, basically this, not that so much as like, why did you have to make a scene? Well, because what she did was awful. What she did was really disgusting. So, of course, this person made a scene. And for you to get more upset about a scene being made says a lot about your parents that I'm not a fan of. Story 2. My friend humiliated me, so I humiliated him in front of everyone. My classmate humiliated me in front of my friend, so I humiliated him and screwed up his grades in front of the entire batch. The story begins on Monday. Today's a Saturday. My classmate was sitting next to me in a lecture, and the professor called me up to fix the projector as she wasn't able to show the PPT she had made for the class. Now, like everyone else, I had my laptop out and I left my desk to help her. This son of a bee classmate of mine decides to take my laptop and open my browser and show the benches behind me my search history. Let's just say it had adult content from last night. I return back to my desk and find people giggling at me. Then I found out that they had seen my history and the adult entertainment I had openly seen last night. Now at least 10 people knew I was into MILFs. It was humiliating for me because this was personal. Some of you may ask, why don't you use private browsing? Well, because I'm an adult viewing adult entertainment on my own laptop. Ethically, nobody should be going through my history on a laptop which belongs to me. I shut up and acted like nothing was the matter, but inside I was seething with rage. Today, he sat next to me again. We had to do a presentation in our anthropology class. This man had prepared a PPT just like everyone else and kept it on his desktop. I decided to go take a leak before the professor arrived in class. This was my opportunity. I went into his laptop and took a screenshot of his desktop. Then I selected all the folders in his desktop and deleted them and emptied the trash. I then turned off transparency effects in the start menu so that his taskbar doesn't look weird and set that screenshot as a wallpaper. The man returned and his laptop appeared unchanged. He smiled at me and told me to delete my browser history before I plug in my laptop to the projector for my presentation. I laughed at his joke. The presentation begins and his turn came. The dude was frantically clicking on the folder containing his PPT, but nothing was happening. He looked frightened. The professor scolded him for wasting her time and told him to get back to his place. This was a graded assignment and he scored 0 on it. Everyone in class was also laughing at him. I finally suggested to him that he should reinstall Windows. It typically fixes all issues. He did that and in the process lost all his data, but his computer was back to working condition. Ooh, that is some pretty harsh revenge, but I mean, honestly, pretty well deserved, I'd say. Like, I'm sorry, going in and embarrassing you like that, that's kind of gross. Like, that is invading someone's privacy on a level that you just shouldn't. That's almost like going through someone's mail or something. Like, I highly doubt that going through someone's browser history and showing it to people is illegal. I can't imagine that it is, but it kind of feels like it should be, right? Like, just like you don't go through other people's mail. That's a federal crime, I think, he said. Not sure, but yeah, whatever. I don't know. Don't do that, folks. Why? When you do jokes like this that are just trying to embarrass people, you are making yourself a target for revenge. You have to know that, right? Story 1. Am I the a-hole for not allowing my boyfriend to be friends with his ex and causing his depression? I, 26 female, am dating a 25 male, and everything was perfect until his ex showed up. He told me that they were dating for 3 years and he even bought a ring, but she cheated on him. First month into our relationship, she wrote to him from an alt account. She said that she has changed, she loves him, etc., etc. And what makes my heart break, boyfriend didn't tell her that he's in a relationship. Like, that is what I'd expect. I would expect something like, sorry, I'm in a relationship and happy. No, he told her that he doesn't want to, but they can be friends if she changes. Next time her friend writes to him, dialogue stays basically the same. He still didn't tell her. Recently, she asked another friend to write to him. She says that she is another person now. She misses their time in gaming. Friend, after boyfriend asked him, told her that he is in a relationship. Finally, LOL. She insists that she wants to be friends. I don't feel like I can or should ban their communication, but I don't really want to stay in relationships because I know I will constantly overthink what they're doing. But after I told him that I don't feel comfortable, he got very upset and claimed that now he basically loses all his friends. I was confused because I said that I have no issues with his friends, they just need to find a time/way to spend time with him without her. Her Discord profile and status about their promises and their relationships, by the way. I finally made a decision to ask him not to be friends with her. 2 days he behaved like he lost something very important to him, like his friends. I assumed that was the case, and for some reason, they refused to spend time without her. I was confused. We met, spent time together. During the evening, he was upset, refused to answer my purring, and kinda looked distinct. When I started talking about the issue, he crushed on my shoulder. We were sitting on a bench, and he was holding his head, ugly crying, and saying that he basically lost all his friends. I was confused because I've told him multiple times that I have no issues with his friends. He can spend time with them how he wants. It's just the ex who is the issue. I don't remember why, but I asked the stupidest question on earth. Have you talked to your friends? Apparently, he didn't. All that drama was in his head. 2 days later, he talked to them. They seemed to agree, and they spent time together as always. I don't interfere and don't steal from his friends, allowing him to enjoy their company. No issue. Well, except there is an issue. I was hoping that we solved the problem. Boy's friend spent time with his friends without an ex, but he is still very sad, kinda cold, and I would even say depressed. He said that it's all in his past traumas and he just lost all optimism he had when we first met, and I just don't know what to do and how to feel. I don't feel like I've done something that awful by asking him not to communicate with X, but I feel terrible seeing him in that state of mind. At the same time, what future can I expect with the man who got so upset because of a slightly inconvenient situation that he lost all optimism about us? As much as I am in support of people being able to be friends with their exes, not always. It's not always going to work. There are times I have a number of exes in my past who I just don't talk to anymore. It would just it just wouldn't work out. But I have other exes in my past that we're still friends on Facebook. I mean, I guess we don't hang out or anything, but yeah, I don't think it's a big deal. But when you're not communicating to an ex that cheated on you and has come back and been like, I want a relationship, and you're not stating that you're already in a relationship, I mean, I guess you don't have to. You don't have to reveal stuff to that person. But I would think you wouldn't want to because you just don't want to have communication with that person. But if he wants to hang out with her, he should be forthcoming with that information. Like, look, I'm okay trying to be friends, but I'm in a relationship and I'm not looking to get back together. So his caginess about that kind of rubs me the wrong way. I'm not feeling great about it. And now lost all optimism, all this stuff that he's putting on the girlfriend because of this. It's like, you weren't that sad before when this person wasn't in your life, but now you are. I don't know. I'm not exactly sure what to think here, but I'm kind of on the fence about this whole thing. So, I don't know. What do you all think? Story 2. Today I effed up by using the bathroom at the back of the plane. This literally happened to me about 5 minutes ago. I am on a JetBlue flight going from SLC to Fort Lauderdale. It's a 4.5-hour flight, and before boarding, the check-in person announced that the front bathrooms of the airplane were out of order. This posed a minor problem because I'm in first class and I have a bladder of a toddler. I take medication that makes me have to pee at least once an hour. Well, we are an hour in and nature called, so I made the one awkward trek in the darkness to the back of the plane to the nasty airplane bathroom and did my business. Now, here's where I effed up. When I came out of the bathroom, the flight attendant had just started to slowly make her way down the aisle to hand out snacks. Stood in the back awkwardly for about 10 minutes, but when I thought she was towards the front, I made my way forward, but I'm apparently an idiot with no depth perception because she was only halfway through as I stood behind the cart awkwardly and slowly following. I have social anxiety that kicked in hard, and my reaction was to make a small joke along the lines of, I did not think this through. The flight attendant was not amused, and when she realized I was sitting at the front, she politely snapped at me with a, why the hell did you go to the back bathroom? I almost explained myself, but that time I was pretty embarrassed, and I refused to damage my dignity further by explaining myself. So I'm so glad I'll be one of the first ones off so I don't have to make eye contact with my fellow passengers. Man, this could have gone so much worse. When I saw a "Today I effed up" post and it had to do with bathrooms, immediately there are a million ways that this story could have been worse, and I'm so happy that it's not. I will say, sucks to that flight attendant for being like, why did you go to the back bathroom? They announced that the front bathrooms were out of order. Why do you think she went to the back bathroom? Who cares? And don't ask a person why they went to any bathroom. Okay? Can we not do that? Because, a person eventually is going to be like, I had to make a big poop or something. And that's going to suck. Like, you're not going to feel good about asking. They're not going to feel good about saying it. No one around is going to feel great. Don't do this. But also, I feel very bad for you, but not that bad because you are getting to ride first class, so come on, life could be worse. Story 1. Am I the a-hole for leaving a birthday party because of a racist translation request? I went to a birthday party for Annie, my sister, 34 female. I, 36 male, and my wife, 36 female, went as we were able to get her parents to watch the boy, our 16-month-old son. It was a normal adult birthday party as she had no kids. She had some of her friends over and our parents. I'm white and all of my family are white, important for the story. My wife is Chinese. She was born in China and became a citizen when she and her family moved to the US when she was 16. She's 100% a US citizen, has no green card, and she and all her family speak Mandarin. My wife can speak English very well, but her family, mostly elders, don't speak a lick of it. I've been learning Mandarin as it's my wife's cultural language. It's cool as F, but I want the boy and future children to be able to speak both of our languages. It's been about 2.5 years, and I'm not very conversational yet, but I pick up on a lot of things, can understand the basic gist of most conversations, and I can speak basic sentences like, is the food hot, or the boy's diaper has been changed, etc. I've also learned how to read and write Mandarin. mostly read right now as I find it helps me learn better, and I sometimes drop cool sentences into the family chat on Facebook. Annie doesn't speak very much of it, but will post Fox articles, usually articles about China that are very critical of the government. I'm not sure if she's racist against Chinese people. She's never said anything negative to my wife in any way. So, last night we were at the dinner table when Annie handed me a slip of paper. I ask what this is as I unwrap it. It says, Tiananmen Square, 1989, and I look up at her, and she has this dumb grin on her face. I ask her what this is, and she goes, "Can you translate that into Mandarin?" This is where people seem to think I'm the a-hole. I got freaking mad. I immediately started yelling, calling her a racist, and said we were leaving. My mom and dad got mad. Annie said I was being dramatic, and her friends, all of whom are white, didn't see what the big deal was. I told everyone off using very big adult words before leaving. My phone started blowing up with text messages saying, "You're not even Chinese, what the hell," and "You ruined her birthday party." I briefly spoke to my mom this morning, where I tried to explain why what she did was racist, targeted toward me and my family, and unacceptable behavior. I told my mom that I wouldn't be going to the house anymore if she was there, and that she needed help. My mom softly echoed what my sister said. With all these text messages, I'm not sure anymore if I overreacted. My wife was unaffected by the whole thing, but understands why I'd be upset. I don't know. Am I the a-hole for reacting this way? I don't think you're the a-hole for reacting this way. I think that your family needs to... Again, we had this a few videos ago, or maybe even last video, I don't remember, where, people seem to be more upset that, someone is, making a scene, rather than being upset for the thing that they should be upset about. That wasn't an okay thing to be doing. It was racist. And, people will say oh, well, the guy's wife who is Chinese just kind of was oh, whatever, But she's also probably had to deal with that her whole life and has learned to just not make a big deal, especially when she is the only Chinese person there. If she's making a big deal, she's gonna feel really othered by all these other people there who don't understand. So, I don't know. Maybe you could have handled it better, or, the thing that I've learned to do, I can't remember who first came up with this online or whatever, but as your sister do that, just look at her and be like, "I don't get it. Can you explain? Explain to me how it's funny. Just, please." If people are gonna be crappy, then, make them fully lay their cards on the table so they can't hide behind, "Oh, it's just a joke." It's fine, if it's a joke, explain it to me. Story 2. My wife of 10 years told me she doesn't love me anymore. It was last week, and I was angry about dishes, which she typically washes the dishes, not me. Anyway, it was a nothing argument that I thought would be nothing and easy to get over. Came home from work to apologize, and that's when she said it. At first she said she doesn't think she ever loved me, but since we've talked, she's saying that she's already checked out and has been for a few years, and primarily over resentment at doing most of the housework and taking care of everyone all the time. She was a stay-at-home mom. She started working 2 months ago, and she hasn't worked since we met. No problem with that. It's what we both agreed would be best. She only recently went back to work because I was having trouble getting work. In the last year and a half, we've had many car issues. Our 5th child was born 2 months premature and spent the first 2 months in NICU, newborn ICU. And in January, I had colorectal surgery. All of these things made getting and keeping jobs almost impossible. Just trying to get all the context I can here. Our intercourse life has never been great. I initiate and sometimes, I guess, ask for it. She doesn't give head or want it, which all of these things I've come to terms with, just giving context. But every once in a while, there'd be a spark, and then 2, 3, or 4 days or so of good, real good intercourse together, which was always welcomed and cool. Sometimes it will be a week or 2 that will go on, but we have lots of kids, and a lot is going on pretty much all the time. So she suggested counseling for us years ago, and I said no. Until this happened, we never needed it. She threw it out there after a fight once. Now that we're going through this, I suggested it, and she doesn't want to go. We're stuck together financially. We owe the landlord a couple of grand and a few other people a couple hundred. It was a really bad 18 months. She said she's willing to stay until our debt is paid. I don't want to lose her or our family, but she's saying she doesn't know if she can uncheck out or check back in. That she's felt this way and she doesn't think she can get her head back in it. She says she does love me. Since the incident, the day she said this, I've been doing dishes and laundry and everything that she used to have to do. I told her that I was committed to her. I was sorry for not holding up my end and that it would never happen again, but again, she said she didn't know that she'd been checked out for so long. I'm suggesting spending time with each other when we can. Look, I need help on how to keep her from pulling away. She's not saying she wants to feel this way. I think she's convinced herself, and I don't know what to do. I've loved this woman since we met, and I'll never stop loving her. She's the mother of my kids, and I can't imagine life without her. If this goes through, which will take many, many months before she's able to physically move to a new place. And last note, our life has always been a struggle financially, but there's so much love and joy here, I don't know how this can be happening. And there's no cheating or beating or anything else involved at all. Should I give her space or try to reconnect with her? Okay, I'm going to throw out some judgments just based on what I've read. Know that I obviously don't know everything that's gone on in this relationship, who's done what, but from what I'm reading, first red flag for me, kind of against this poster, is they're saying that before she was like, I think we need to go to couples counseling, and this poster's reaction was like, no, there's nothing wrong. But then it's like, oh, but now I want the couples counseling because she threatened to leave me. Isn't that enough? Like, that's super reactive. Like, you were saying there was nothing wrong before when clearly she thought there was, otherwise she wouldn't have suggested it. And you've clearly had some other problems with, miscommunications or, just not lining up as far as intimacy and some other stuff. Like, it seems where there were some problems and you were like, look, everything was fine. Everything was just great. And now she's suddenly doing this. Things weren't. And now you're only doing this stuff kind of reactively to this to just get her to stay because she's finally put her foot down enough. Now, again, people can disagree with me. That's absolutely fine. As I said, I don't know this whole situation. I'm just reacting to what I see written here. And the way that this reads out is someone who didn't want to put in the work while the relationship was starting to deteriorate. And now that she's finally, decided to put her foot down and make a decision, now he's suddenly willing to put in the work. I don't know if that's a case or not, but that's how I'm going to at least interpret it. And maybe me saying that will be useful advice for someone out there. I don't know. Story 1. Am I the a-hole for keeping my wife on a short leash after she cheated on me? My 30 male, wife 31 female, of 5 years cheated on me last year with her friend when she was out with her friend group. She used to do this often, but always came back at around 12 a.m. But this time she came home very late at around 5 a.m. and drunk, and I didn't press the issue that night. She was distant and didn't talk much to me afterwards the next few days. I only found out a couple days later when she confessed to cheating after I kept asking her why she was so cold to me. I was shocked. I never liked the fact that she went out to bars and clubs, but she never gave me a reason to distrust her until that night. I immediately grabbed a bag, packed some stuff, and left. She was begging me to talk about it, but I wasn't in the mood for it. I was angry, upset, sad. I knew that I wasn't in the right headspace for this kind of talk, so I stayed with a friend. Fast forward a few days later, and I agreed to talk to her. She said she was so sorry and would never happen again, and that she would do anything to make me stay. So I spent the time I was away thinking of staying or leaving, and I hate the fact that I still love her. We don't have kids together, but part of me still wanted to stay. I gave her certain conditions if she wanted me to stay. The first one is to never see the man she cheated on me with ever again. The second was that I could see her phone or computer anytime I wanted without having to ask. The last one was that she could no longer go out to bars or clubs without me. She agreed to all of this. Over the last year, she's been estranged from her friend group because she can't go out with them without seeing the man she cheated on me with, and she hasn't really made any new friends. I haven't checked her phone or computer either. I know she likes to go out, so I try my best to go with her when I have time. The bar and club scene was never my thing, but I try to enjoy it with her. Things haven't been the same as before, and I've thought about losing the she can't go without me rule, but I keep thinking of what she did. I've explained this to my friend, and she said I should just divorce her if I can't trust her anymore. I've thought about it. I wasn't as happy as I used to be. She says she's happy with me around, but she isn't as energetic as she used to be. So, am I the a-hole? I really thought that I wasn't going to be on this person's side at all when they referred to like the short leash and the not going out, without him at all. Because I'm like, yeah, you've got to have trust, if you can't have some trust. I think I'm okay with being able to check the phone and computer. Like, there needs to be something that happens that helps reestablish trust. But it also sounds like that's not really happening. Like, it's been around a year, it sounds like, and they haven't started to rebuild that trust. And she hasn't been as happy. And while she might have been like, please, I'll do anything to make you stay, I think sometimes people are more afraid of just being alone than they are, that's not the way to put it. People want to not be alone, and sometimes they're just scared of that and don't want to admit that maybe she cheated because she's not as happy. I don't know. There's so much that could be going on here that I really don't know, but what I'll say is, if after a year, if you really don't have trust and you both don't seem happy, it might be better for the both of you to talk about divorce or something. It doesn't have to be the worst thing. Sometimes it's the right choice. So, I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe therapy. I don't know. I just hope it works out. Story 2. My husband has ruined our lives by asking me to double his lunch serving for work. I'm on a throwaway because I still haven't fully decided on divorce, but I'm 95% sure of it. Me, 26 female, and my husband, 25 male, have been married for almost 2 years and have a 6-month-old baby. I work part-time only to supplement our income and to pay for the legal process of getting him documented. We're very fortunate that it seems it may be an easy process of maybe 2 years max for his residency, but now I'm going to cancel everything and ask for a divorce. My routine used to be I wake up 1.5 hours before him in the morning and make him lunch and pack everything for him for work and have his breakfast, coffee, and clothes ready for him to wake up, eat, get dressed, and head out within 30 minutes. He used to be satisfied with what I packed him of freshly made chicken and either honey buffalo, lemon pepper, or salad, or some sort of chicken wraps, etc. Pure, healthy food. I did this because I wanted to make his life easier and show him I cared and loved him, and I've done this since we first moved in together more than 3 years ago. Well, recently, I've had to start including dinner leftovers because he started asking for more food that he was still hungry afterwards, which I thought was odd because no matter if I work or not, he always comes home to prepared food, so even if he wasn't full, he would be okay. But I explained it off with maybe he's bulking or something. So I started including what I normally take to work, which has caused me to either go without lunch or having to wait till after work or be late for work because I have to wait till the food is ready, and take some because I'm breastfeeding and can't miss eating every time. I'll leave food going such as in a crock pot or low heat depending on how long I leave he gets home. Well, last week when I was packing his lunch, I found an unrecognized second fork in his lunchbox and was thrown off. So I asked and he said he found it in the kitchen of his work and brought it home. Odd, why didn't he just leave it? I had noticed small changes in him that I gaslighted myself into being insecure because I just had a baby, but this made the pit in my stomach churn. So, a few days later, I decided to go to his work during lunch to surprise him with dessert and for him to see the baby. Well, this was when I found out why he wanted more food. His coworker he told me no longer worked there, who I'd caught him talking too friendly to, and I told him it bothered me and I had him removed from everything and block on WhatsApp, not only still worked there, but was eating the lunch I freshly prepared for him, and he was eating the leftovers. I didn't cause a scene, instead took pictures and added to my folder of everything he's done before, from simple hearting other girls' stories after telling me he didn't, to naked pictures of a coworker from a previous job he got fired from because of her. I drove home crying to pack my things. When I got home, I took the bassinet and anything I'd need for the baby and my essentials and went to my sister and brother-in-law's and told them everything and even showed him our conversations from WhatsApp where he told me she no longer worked there. I normally text him throughout the day, so he started texting me and calling me to see if I was okay and what was for dinner. He was almost off. Is everything okay? And then he got to the house an hour earlier than usual, which also has me questioning if he's been lying about what time he gets off, too.
and saw mine and the baby's things gone, and my letter that he had 7 days to leave my house, my mom gave it to me when I was 20, and that he can communicate with my mother to see the baby when I'm at work, or whenever he wants to see her. Just let her know and I'll drop off the baby with her. I, for the time being, don't want anything to do with him. And I left the printed photos of them eating lunch, laughing together under the letter. Later that night, when I decided I no longer wanted anything to do with him, I informed the lawyer. We had a group WhatsApp chat with him, the lawyer, paralegal, and my brother-in-law, our co-sponsor, that I no longer was going to need his services, and then messaged the lawyer privately to ask if I could maybe move our contract as the money I've paid so far over to his divorce and family practice. He said, unfortunately, no, there's some clause or something that if we decide to no longer pursue the case, we lose the money we've invested, and also that his immigration practice is a partnership with different people than his family one, until we get a response for our next appointment from the government, and if we haven't worked things out by then he will cancel everything. Well, this causes him to go insane, because now if he doesn't get papers, he has to choose between his daughter and parents, to either risk never seeing his parents and family again, or never seeing his daughter again if he goes over there. He's begging me to the point I blocked him on everything. He's come to my brother-in-law's house and been told to leave or we're calling the police. Then he came back drunk with his buddies who were all scared off by my brother-in-law and his shotgun. I feel so lost, broken, and depressed. I also have security at work to make sure he doesn't show up at my office. My sister tells me to leave him, but not to divorce so he can never get with anyone else and get papers, but I can't do that to him. I've gone back home only to check on the house and see if he's gone. I'm still staying with my sister, and surprisingly there's no damage to anything and his things only are gone. So at least I feel a little relief in that. I'm not looking for advice. I know I'm not going back. There's no longer any trust. My mental health wouldn't be safe in that relationship, and I know I can't have my daughter grow up with that kind of relationship being an example. I just need to put this out there in order to solidify in my brain and to be able to reflect that this is now a pattern. And he's gone beyond disrespecting me by now, also making me make her food. I've been budgeting, trying to make things last, sometimes eating less than I want to or skipping meals if possible. If a meal was heavier of carbs, I'd skip since I should have enough for my milk supply. All to be able to pay bills, lawyer his gym membership, and supplements. I lost out on rest and sleep because I endure laundry and the house is kept spotless while the baby sleeps. I've basically gone from an independently educated career woman to a 1950s housewife with a job and school, all because I blindly fell for this man. When I say I feel stupid, that's an understatement. To this poster and anyone who ends up in a situation like she did, do not feel stupid. Cheaters like this manipulate. They are manipulators, and they're good at it, and they trick people. They haven't just tricked you. They're tricking the person they're cheating with to a degree. They've probably tricked friends and family and stuff. You're not the only one, and you also have the fact that you're in love with them, so you want to trust them. That's part of a relationship is trust, and it's hard to believe that someone you care about that much would break that trust. So please, never feel bad about yourself for something like this happening. What he did, there's just no justification, and that really, really sucks, and I hope that no one out there watching this ever has to go through something like that. Story 1. Am I the a-hole for not supporting my dad and my friend's new relationship? I cannot believe I actually have to post something here, but I think I need a bit of clarity for my current situation because I really don't have anyone else to talk to about it. I am 21 female and attend college about 6 hours away from my hometown. Unfortunately, my mom passed away at a young age and my dad, 48 male, has been a single father to me for the past 8 years. My dad hasn't dated anyone seriously throughout the years as he seemed to constantly indicate that all he wanted to focus on was being there for me. I've always encouraged him to put himself back out there, and when I left for school, I encouraged this even more as he would be an empty nester. Since my freshman year of high school, I've had a really close friend, 21 female, that has always been there for me, and I've spent a lot of time with her. She attends a more local college that's only about 20 minutes away from my hometown. This all started this past spring break, March, when I went home and noticed that my dad was texting someone fairly regularly. I also saw that the name that was texting him once, and I did not recognize it, but it was a woman's name. This is not common for him, so I figured he may be finally sparking up his love life after all these years. I did not say anything about it because I didn't want to make him feel weird or uncomfortable about getting back out there. He seemed happy, and I was happy on the inside as well for him. I said my goodbyes and went back to school. A few weeks later, I just so happened to be looking at Find My Friends when I noticed that my friend was at my house. I thought this was strange since she doesn't live close by. It will sound naive at this point, but I honestly did not think that much of it. About a week went by, and I decided to come home one day early for Easter in April because I just had a feeling that something was strange and to try and catch my dad off guard a bit. Everything was normal, and he was very happy to see me. I was planning on seeing my friend the next day for lunch. My dad and I spent the day together and then started watching a movie. Then it happened. I saw an incoming text on my dad's phone, and it was from my friend. This was all I needed to see to place the last piece of the puzzle together. My dad was going out with my friend. I was feeling pretty sick the next day, a little bit of faking to avoid the situation, and I also just felt a bit uneasy about it all. I felt like a layer of trust was broken, and the other external details, such as their age gap and the already existing dynamic, made me cringe up a bit as well. After 2 days at home, I took the next train back to school. I told my dad that I really had to ace an exam coming up, so I had to get back. I needed to leave the situation and think. After thinking, I came to the conclusion that I am not okay with this relationship. I did not want my individual relationships that I had with each blend into one. I thought it was a bit gross, and above all, the fact that they knew they had to be sneaky validates my feeling that they should know better. I waited until finals were over a few weeks ago and finally called my dad and told him that I know and what my thoughts are. He sounded very upset on the phone, sad, not at all angry, and told me that he understood and wanted to talk about it the next day so that he could think. I have no clue what he was telling my friend, but I did not have any contact with her about this throughout these initial calls. The next day, my dad and I talked. He was very apologetic and understanding of why I was upset, but eventually came down and said that he would not stop seeing my friend. He said that they had been seeing each other since the end of last summer and had become attached to one another, and he was not ready to forfeit his first real connection that he had felt in so many years. I held my ground and told him that I will not be seeing him or hanging out with him when I return home for summer break until he ends this. It has been 2 weeks at home with basically no interaction with him or my friend aside from a text from my friend every other day requesting to talk in person or on the phone about it. I did not respond to her texts or calls. Tonight, it came to a head. I returned home from dinner with a friend to find my dad and my friend waiting for me in my house. This was the most unpleasant experience I've ever had with my father. It ended with him crying and him saying that I should understand because I know how hard it has been for him. He also pointed out that I've been deeply encouraging him to put himself back out there, so I have to have some sort of sympathy with him. After about 15 minutes of yelling, tears, and overall awkwardness, I stormed out and drove to another friend's house to stay for the night. I'm too embarrassed to tell the friend I'm staying with the details / talk about why I left home or this relationship. So, I've sat here for the past few hours and wrestled in my mind with whether I am being too hard on them or if I am in the right. Am I the a-hole here for not supporting this relationship or even tolerating it? Just a note, I have talked about zero details yet with my friend or dad about why they started going out, etc. I just know that it's been happening. I am sorry for how long this is, but I'm very confused and I don't know what to think or feel. First off, I gotta say, I'm not comfortable with a 27-year age gap that's going back to like a 21-year-old with a 48-year-old. Like, that just doesn't feel great to me, especially since you've been friends with this person, I assume, back through your childhood. I assume this person was coming to your house when she was a kid, a teenager, maybe even younger than that. And it's just weird. Like, I can't fathom being attracted to someone who was a child when I was an adult and I knew them and was an authoritative figure over them. I'm not comfortable, but I mean, in the end, it's to each their own, I guess. There are relationships with big age gaps that work. I mean, I would say to you that I would try to be maybe a little more understanding. Like, you don't necessarily have to like it, but it is your dad and your friend. And I mean, if they are making a mistake, that might not be justification for like cutting off contact with them. But I don't know. I'd be super uncomfortable with that too. Yeah, it's weird. I don't have good advice. Just do whatever you gotta do. Story 2. I got fired because they said I was drunk and I wasn't. They tested me. I went to work and everything was fine and normal when I got a call from my boss telling me that there was an Uber waiting for me outside because he got a report from someone, a brand new supervisor, he hadn't been there 2 weeks yet, that I was heavily intoxicated. I assured him I wasn't, and he also said that we had been talking all morning and he didn't think so either. I didn't argue anything and went in and got tested for alcohol and blew a 0.00 and then called my boss and was told he called an Uber to take me back and give him a call when I got there. He was out of town at the time. When I got back, he said that I was going to be suspended and he would let me know what was going on. 4 days later, he fired me. In the report, it said that someone reported that I was under the influence, and even though they were relieved to find nothing in my system, they take these claims seriously and are deciding to part ways. I feel that was wrongful termination, and I have all the paperwork to prove it. I wasn't drinking and didn't smoke at all and was sober when they made their claims. It's all because the new supervisor/employee wanted to look good, in my opinion. Do I have a case? Yes, you have a case. You have all the paperwork and you have proof. And like they sent you a thing saying that we're relieved that you gave us proof that you weren't intoxicated, but we take these claims seriously? That's so inane. That doesn't make any sense. Yes, absolutely. Wrongful termination. Report this crap. Go to papers and everything like that. Whatever you have to do, put this company on blast. That's not okay. That's absurd. Story 1. Father got my sister 14 pregnant and my friend's mom wants to go to the news about it. Can my sister keep the baby? Will we get taken away from him? And how do we keep our identities out of the news? Hey folks, very obviously there is a content warning in this video for incest and R, and so understandably, if you are not at all comfortable hearing this, scroll to the time code that my editor has put on screen to skip to the next story. State is Colorado. My sister 14 is pregnant and wouldn't tell me who the father is. We've not told our father at all. She finally broke down and told me our father has been R-ing her for the last 4 years. I absolutely believe her because it was happening to me too. Our parents divorced when I was 17, was 3 years old, and we haven't seen my mom at all. We were always told she was deep into drugs, but my father is really manipulating, so I'm wondering if that's true now. We're wondering what happens if she admits to the doctor that our father is the father of her child. I'm assuming they can DNA test it to prove it eventually. If he goes to jail as our only caregiver, what happens to us? I know he's a piece of crap, but I don't know where else we can go. Also, can she keep the baby? She really wants to right now, but I can't imagine that is healthy, and I don't know how she would take care of it with our father in jail. Will the hospital take it away because it's incest? The other part of this legal question is about the news. I made the mistake of confiding the whole thing to a friend who told her mom. Her mom won't stop contacting me because she's going to the news because the community needs to know what he did to you guys. Neither of us have any desire for this to get in the news. It feels like if we get identified, it will just further ruin our lives. I've told her this so many times, but she keeps pushing me to do an interview with the local news. I've never liked her. I think she's crazy and manipulative too, and just wants to be in the spotlight for a few minutes of fame for being our rescuer. How do I make her stop legally? Can I legally force the local news to not do a piece on us? Okay. This is an absolutely horrifying story to read. I can understand kids not wanting to be in the news, and maybe it's possible, but what I would say is you need to get ahead of things and get to Child Protective Services or something. You absolutely need to seek counsel, and life will not be easy with your father going to jail, but it will be better than living with that monster. Folks, if you're in a situation like this, you need to find people that you can trust. You need to get out of that situation. terrifying to me. And what happens when this father finds out about the pregnancy? You don't know how he might react to hide what he has done. And please just contact someone you can trust. Go to Child Protective Services, the police yourself, whatever you have to do. There's no perfect option, no option that makes this an easy thing whatsoever, but please do something, because I would be fearful of their situation. And also, this father deserves to go to jail. This father deserves so much worse. But please, as far as keeping the kid, I don't know. She's 14. Maybe adoption. Maybe you can give that kid a life if you don't believe in abortion. But just get a hold of someone, anyone that you can trust. And maybe the news is the best. I don't know. But please don't just deal with this quietly. Story 2. Call the HOA because my yard is devaluing your house? All right, I'll have it cleaned by the inspection date. This is a story about my mother's. She has always been incredibly hard-headed, but this sticks out from a lot from my teenage years. Once a year, she always had us pull everything out of the garage, lots of boxes. My mom has a concerning amount of possessions, so we could go through it and clean/reorganize. This particular year, the couple who owned the house across from us, flippers, were in the process of selling their house. Unhappy with my mother's unsightly driveway covered in boxes, soiling their good image, they made a call to the HOA. By the time my mother received the letter, the mess had been put away, but they decided to get her on a few other complaints, such as the bikes against the side of the house and the patchy gravel. She had 2 weeks to have everything up to standards. Petty and easily frustrated, my mother knew immediately who called, since the couple had come over and told her flat out with their renovations they were selling that house for way more than any other house in this neighborhood, and would appreciate if she respected that by keeping her property on par. For the next 2 weeks, every box from that garage was in our driveway. The couch and the living room TV came next. This was early summer, so it was perfect weather to sit in your yard in your shorts and sports bra. My mom made sure to wave and smile every time they brought someone over for a showing. The final step came at the end of that 2 weeks ago. After the yard had been cleaned up and cleared by the HOA, my mom went to the local Walmart and bought a for sale sign. She wrote about 1/4 of their ridiculous asking price on it and finished off with a big "sold" written across the front and stuck it in our yard. No clue what they ended up selling their house for, but it sat empty for a while, so I assumed it was below offer. So look, I don't immediately want to say that all house flippers are just kind of gross. I don't think they are. I think there are some people that do a very good job taking houses that really need some work, bringing them up to code. They make a profit and they put in hard, good work. Good house flippers absolutely exist. There are a bunch of them that are a-holes that do really shoddy jobs and just try and get as much money as possible and are not respectful to other people. And all those house flippers deserve to deal with neighbors like this constantly. Dear people in the neighborhood, if there are house flippers who are absolute jerks, find every way you can to get them, please. Let's stop some of the unnecessary money-grubbing house flippers and encourage more of the good ones who actually take these houses that actually need to be flipped. And let's get more of those people. The rest of them, I hope that they get this neighbor every time. Please leave your story in the comments. I would love to make a video on them in the future. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe.